doing it and doing it and doing it well. Doing it and doing it and doing it well. Doing it and doing it and doing it well.
Ash and Alex are doing Scientology well.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Ash and Alex Do Scientology, a collaboration between me, Ashley Richards, host of the true crime podcast that you're listening to, TSFU, or That's So Fucked Up, and its many spinoffs. I hope y'all are checking those out. And former director of public book sales at the Church of Scientology in London, and current dope-ass YouTuber,
Apostate Alex! Yay!
Ooh.
The crowd goes wild.
I want to know everything there is to know about Scientology. Explained to me like I'm 5, and Alex has all the dirt and the ability to do that. So, welcome to This is Ash
And Alex do
Scientology. I'm like, welcome to This is Ash. It's actually,
people
guys,
get it.
It's just called Ash and Alex Do Scientology, or AADS if you want to be like
If you wanna be culty
Scientology
about it.
and
Yeah.
give everything a brief.
Let's do it. Right. So on this episode, we're going to carry on from where we left up. If you haven't already listened to episode 1, 2, and 3, get out. We don't want you here. We don't like you. No, I'm joking.
Oh
We
my
love
God,
you.
Alex.
Thank you for joining. But do go and listen to episode 1, 2, and 3. We are dissecting Scientology and their bridge to total freedom. If you're watching on YouTube, do go and check out Ash's podcast. That's So Fucked Up. There's a link in the description. Make sure, in fact, actually, why don't you just go and press play on that now and listen to it on your favorite podcasting app. And you can put it on mute or whatever, but you can listen to that whilst also watching the video. Just put one of them on mute, and then we both get the like, we both get the view or the listen or
You
whatever.
could do that. You can also just, if you're a listener of mine, be like, man, I love Apostate Alex. I need more. And you can go to YouTube and search Apostate Alex, and you'll find way more content. And if you're an Apostate Alex viewer and you're like, man, Ashley sounds pretty cool because she has a podcast about cults, murder, and other generally fucked up stuff, then go check out my pod and, watch and listen to all of our shit. I think we both got some pretty cool stuff going on. And definitely I will give Alex a list that we can both put in our show notes of all of the cult episodes of That's So Fucked Up, in case cults are really your jam, because they're definitely mine. And we've done quite a few episodes on cults, so I'll give a list of those. And yeah, just, help support us, please.
For sure. Absolutely. So what we've done so far is dissected the bridge to total freedom. We've done the first couple of steps, the purification rundown, the survival rundown. We've done the happiness rundown, ARC straight wire. And now we're into the real meat of substance here, like the real big, these are the first like kind of real gnarly type courses in Scientology called the grades. So just as a little recap, that you've done the purification rundown, so you're free of all of the effects of toxins and drugs in your body. You've done the survival rundown, so you're here in present time. You've done the happiness rundown, so you know that you're living a moral life and you're on the way to happiness. And then you've just finished the ARC straightwire, so you have the ability to recall past events and have a fresh look at the present and the future. So that's where you're at, and now you're ready to do the grades. Are you ready?
I did the visual representation of the steps or whatever. I don't know if you noticed, but
I did, and I loved it.
cool. Thank you.
So,
Am
the
I
grades.
ready? Is
Are
that
you
what you
ready?
asked?
yeah.
Dude, I was born ready. It's a crazy question.
Cool. So once you've done the ARC straight wire, you're ready. And don't ask me why, right? What? Because there are 5 grades, right? But instead of
Mhm.
calling them grade 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, L. Ron Hubbard calls them grade 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I don't know why he said grade 0 and didn't just start at 1, but that's where we're at. We start
Because
with grade 0.
he likes to confuse people with nonsense. A. B. If you're 0, like you're fucking nothing at that point, right? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you're like, I don't want to be a level 0. 0 fucking is bullshit. So you're like, you really want to get to that level 1, right? I think that's why. It's like some mind games.
You want to get right up to the top of the bridge, total freedom. So, all right, so let's dissect grade 0. So grade 0 is all about communication, right? So you've just done the ARC straightway, so you are now able to recall the past and look at things with a fresh perspective. So grade 0 is basically more of that, right? It's looking at the past times, but with a focus on communication. So past times communication was difficult or messed up or whatever, and you go earlier and earlier. So you look at times communication was difficult. So say you were talking to a friend and you had a hard time getting your point across to them, you would recall that. So you do it in the same format as the last one. So, tell me what you were looking at the time, recall the sights, the sounds, the smells, the tastes, all of your 5 senses around that time. And then you go and do an earlier similar time that communication was difficult, hard, or messed up, and you go back and back and back. And it's not just times you've had trouble communicating with others. It's times other people have had trouble communicating with you, right? Times someone else has struggled to get their point across to you. And also times other people have had problems communicating with other people, right? And also times you've had problems communicating with yourself, right? Times you struggle to understand things. So you're looking at all of these things with relation to communication, and you go back and back and back. And this is where you start really looking at past lives. So you go earlier, similar, you go right back until, remembering a time in your last life that you had trouble communicating with others. By this point, you start going further down the track, is what it's called, which is like your history as a spiritual being. So grade 0 is all about communication, and the end phenomena is ability to communicate freely with anyone on any subject.
Okay, question. Because you never made it too far up the bridge, you never got to remember any of your past lives? Air quotes.
Well, not necessarily, because I still received auditing. I still did Scientology. I just didn't do much progress on the bridge itself. So you can do servicing and auditing and things in Scientology. They're just not necessarily going up the bridge, right? So I still did Scientology auditing. It was on particular subjects or issues or things that came up, just like you would see a therapist or whatever.
Did you remember any past lives during your auditing session?
Personally, I had thoughts of it, but I also thought that it was kind of a bit rubbish. Like, I never believed myself. Like, I never believed that they were past lives. Like, I always looked at it as my imagination, which is what it actually is. I never got to the point where I believed it so much that it was an actual past life. But I was open to the idea, for sure. I'm not so much now. I don't believe in past lives or anything. But when I was a Scientologist, I was open to that idea. Because in Scientology, it's all about you're a spiritual being that has lived forever and will live forever. So therefore, if you're accessing your potential as a spiritual being, you're going to remember things from past lives. So I was open to it, but I never had any instances myself of remembering being in the medieval times and, conquering thing or whatever. Like, I never got into that.
What? That's a bummer.
Disappointing, I know.
No, I'd love to fucking hear about your past lives if you had them,
So we've done grade 0, we've done grade 1. By the way, each of these grades cost probably about at least $12,000 for each grade.
So at this point, I want to remind everybody about the fact that Alex just talked about how you put so much time and so much money into this, and there's this term called the sunk cost fallacy, which is a phenomenon where a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they have heavily invested in it, even when it's clear that abandonment would be more beneficial. So you might get to grade 3 and be like, you know what, this seems like fucking bullshit. Like, I don't know. But you've already fucking spent over 100 G's to get there. So you're like, well, I don't want this to have been a huge waste of all of my life savings and all of my time. So I guess I'll just stick around for these promises that they keep saying are coming.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the idea in Scientology at this point is to get rid of your reactive mind. It's to achieve the state of clear, which means you don't have your reactive mind. You don't have this part of you that's causing problems and, illnesses and all this sort of stuff. And so the idea of the grades and all of this stuff on the bridge is you're stripping away parts of this reactive mind. And then when you get to the state of clear, you've got rid of your reactive mind, right? So each of these things, you're doing these steps with the goal of eventually clearing yourself, getting rid of your reactive mind. So grade 1, ability to recognize the source of problems and make them vanish. So you've done that. That's another $12,000 down the drain. And then you move on to grade 2, which is all about your moral transgressions, right? Which is what's called overts and withholds in Scientology, OWs, right? In a simple way of describing it, an overt act is a transgression. That's something you've done wrong. I don't know, say for example, you stole something from the shop, right? That's an overt. That's something you've done that you shouldn't have done. And then you haven't told anyone about it. You've kept it to yourself. It's a little secret. And that's the withhold. You've withheld that information. So an OW is basically that. It's something you've done wrong and then you've not told someone about it. So you do what's called an OW write-up, or you can do it in session. And the idea is you confess to all the overts that you've done and instances you've withheld it. And there's also an element of justification as well. Like if you say, look, I had no money because, I didn't have a job or whatever, I needed to eat, so I had to steal something from the shop. You've justified your overt. And basically by telling the auditor that all of this, that's meant to make you feel better, like a confessional.
I was going to say, this kind of sounds like just a combo of Buddhism and Catholicism right now.
There's lots of elements,
like
of
the whole let's get to a present clear mind. Yeah, the Buddha already talked about that like super long time ago, bro. And then Eckhart Tolle came on the scene and like wrapped it up again and was like, actually I dig Eckhart Tolle, but yeah.
This is skipping ahead a little bit, but there is a point in Scientology, in one of the confidential levels, where you learn that L. Ron Hubbard believed that he was Buddha in a past life. And actually, Scientology is him coming back to finish the job because he didn't finish it when he was in Buddha, when he was Buddha. He talked about the state of like reverie, the state you're meant to reach in Buddhism. The state of clear is kind of like a better version of that, because in Buddhism it's only temporary, whereas the state of clear is the like a permanent state of serenity.
Clear is just a synonym for enlightened.
It's this state
Correct.
of serenity, like it's getting rid of your reactive mind. It's living at a higher level spiritually.
Yeah, that's enlightenment in Buddhism. So
Yeah.
I think that L. Ron Hubbard was like, ugh, this is sounding a lot like I'm stealing from Buddhism. So maybe instead of going the average I'm Jesus route, I'll go with the I'm Buddha route. Or did he say he was Jesus too?
No, he didn't say he was Jesus.
Okay. He did say he was Buddha though. So
he said he was Buddha.
Okay, I gotta give it to him. He He was original in that because everybody else claims to be a fucking reincarnation of Jesus. It's like,
And
oh,
also,
another
at
one.
the same time, he's discrediting Buddhism because what he's saying is he's come back to finish the job. So he's saying that there is credit and merit in Buddhism, but actually, if you're a follower of Buddhism, then really you should be doing Scientology because Scientology is like Buddhism, but better.
On
So
steroids.
yeah, it's like discrediting it, but at the same time trying to appeal to more people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but you
good
don't learn
job.
that until you get to a high level on the bridge. Like that's a confidential thing.
Of
At this
course.
level, we're just talking about, grade 1 problems you've had in the past with others and so on, and then grade 2 moral transgressions. So the end phenomena of grade 2
Mm-hmm.
is relief from the hostilities and sufferings of life.
I mean, that sounds like good stuff, Who doesn't want that? Oh my God. Also, Buddhism to get rid of suffering. I'm sorry. I just cannot help but connect every single thing on here to something else. And I'm like, yeah, that came first. But I mean, he was a fucking master, though, of taking and repackaging this stuff because so many people, instead of going to the source, Buddhism or Christianity or whatever, they're like, you know what? L. Ron fucking kind of packaged that in a better way.
Well, it's interesting you use the word source there because L. Ron Hubbard actually referred to himself and other people in Scientology. You refer to him as source.
God. So he's God.
Not necessarily God, because in Scientology you learn that you're a spiritual being called a Thetan, and that you it's kind of like saying you are your own God, right? There is that element in there, but so L. Ron Hubbard isn't God. He's not like someone to bow down and worship, but he is source. He's the person that's developed the only way to attain spiritual freedom and immortality and so on. So he is source.
Is there anyone to bow down to and worship?
No, there isn't any element of worship in Scientology. And this is where they've had issues in the past of getting religious recognition, because there's a whole, the legal definition of religion is different in every country, but there's a whole element in most jurisdictions that say you have to believe in a deity and you have to worship. And in Scientology, there isn't an element of original sin or, belief and praying for forgiveness from a god. Like there's none of that. In Scientology, you learn that you are a spiritual being and you have godlike powers, right? And that's what you're meant to achieve at the top of the bridge. If you finish the bridge, you get to the very top, you're an operating Thetan. That means you have unlocked your spiritual potential. You're like a god yourself, right?
Oh, let's all take a breath and just ponder that. And we'll be right back. Ashton and Alex are back. All right. So
Great song.
thank you. I just love to
Everybody.
Yeah. Rock your body. Yeah.
Yeah.
Join Scientology.
No.
Don't do it, you guys. It's not good. That's what we're here to tell you. Moral of the story. If you're not really honing in on our general thesis.
Cool. So we're talking about the grades on the Bridge to Total Freedom, right? So we've done grade 0, we've done grade 1, we've done grade 2, which is relief from the hostilities and sufferings of life. And now you're ready for grade, you guessed it, 3.
Whoa. Get out of here.
I know, right? Shocker.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? So
Yeah.
grade 3 is personal upsets, right? And it's much of the same as the other grades we've done so far, but the end phenomena is freedom from the upsets of the past and the ability to face the future. So you do the same thing you've done in all the other ones, right? In recalling past similar times you've had problems or communication problems, whatever. We're doing the same, but with upsets. So when was the last time you had an upset with someone? When was the last time you saw someone have an upset with another? It's the same thing, but we're talking about upsets now.
Do you think people get so bored and annoyed during this shit?
Oh, 100%. But in Scientology, you're not allowed to leave the room. Like, the auditor is trained to, like, literally keep you in that room until you're what's called VGIs, right? You have to be VGIs at the end of an auditing session. And VGIs stands for very good indicators, right? You have to be happy and smiley, and like, you can't leave an auditing session if you're kind of miserable and upset or fed up or whatever, because that means the auditing session hasn't, you haven't finished the objective yet. So you're not allowed to leave until you're VGIs, until you're very happy. So with all of these grades and these processes, which are costing thousands of dollars and taking hundreds of hours, you leave the session feeling good about yourself. And the end phenomena, right, of each session, or of each grade, sorry, so like grade 2, relief from the hostilities and sufferings of life, you finish that process when you feel like that. You feel like, I'm like relieved. I feel like I'm no longer burdened by the hostilities and sufferings of life. Like, you feel that, right? And you haven't passed the level until you feel that. So yeah, you're going through it and thinking, God, I'm so bloody pissed off because I've just done that, and now we're doing it all again, but focusing on upsets, whereas last time it was about transgressions. Like, really, more of this stuff?
Yeah.
And the auditor's like, yeah, but like, we have handled different areas of your life. We've done transgressions, communication problems, and now we're doing upsets, right? That's part of the course. You just gotta get on and do it.
So if I'm up in, I'm going up the bridge, and I'm
Get
showing
on up.
and I'm showing some doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have, like a doubt specialist who comes in and is like, hey girl, let me tell you what's up. Okay, I see how you're feeling and I totes get it, but you're gonna love it when you're done. Like, do they have that guy, like the sales guy who comes into the room and makes you feel better?
So the salesperson wouldn't ever come into an auditing session. Like, an auditing session is just you and your auditor, and you just carry on with the process. Like, your auditor is trained to accept what you're saying. Like we said earlier about past lives, and you go, okay, thank you. Tell me an earlier similar time that happened, right? It's similar. Like, the auditor will continue the process until you feel better about it. But there is a thing called the doubt formula in Scientology, which we will get to later, I suppose. But in a nutshell, if you are feeling like you're doubting something, there is like an action you can do called the doubt formula, which is a way of addressing doubt and realizing what is true, which is Scientology, of course.
Scientology.
So that is the thing that you can do. But if you're in an auditing session and you're kind of like, this isn't working, I'm so done, like, blah, whatever, right? Your auditor is trained to acknowledge you and say, like, totally get how you're feeling. I understand that. Let's just carry on. Like, we've got to keep doing this because we're talking about your spiritual freedom here. It's not easy. If you could just walk in and sit down and ask some questions and 10 minutes later you go, great, you're done now, thanks very much, you go, okay, great, that was easy, do the next one, you're never going to get anywhere. Like, it's your spiritual enlightenment, so there's going to be things that are hard. It's not an easy task,
Right. So
that's what they would say.
Totally trained to do the whole, I totally get how you're feeling. Who was I just talking about recently? A cult leader that would do that same thing, but it was always the leader. Like, if somebody was doubting something, be like, listen, I totally get that you're tired from all this spiritual work, but so am I. It's so hard. Who the fuck am I talking about?
I don't know, but it sounds like Keith Raniere.
Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about Keith. Yeah, so that was very Jim Jones. He would personally sit down with followers, and I'm not sure how much you know about Jonestown and all that. He would just totally fucking like slave labor people day and night. And then when they'd be like, I'm fucking tired, fuck this, he'd have a personal meeting with them and he'd be like, man, I totally get it. I'm exhausted too. But, leading a racial integration fucking what's a thing when it's like new, like, like whatever. He's like, we're doing like really important shit here, and I fully get it. I'm so tired too. And then they're like, okay, cool. And then it's like a badge of honor, and they're like, what up, Jim Jones is tired? Guess what, so am I, because I work fucking hard too.
Yeah, there's a thing in Scientology called the communication cycle, right? The cycle, the communication formula. And basically it's one of those introductory courses you do at the very beginning called the communication course, or STCC, the success through communication course. This is one that I did, I remember. And it's an introductory service. It's not on the bridge. It's kind of one of the first things you do in Scientology, and you learn about the communication formula, and it's like a mathematical way a communication is meant to work. So it literally breaks down, what is communication? Okay, well, person A speaks, and then person B speaks, and then person A speaks, and so on. And it's a formula because it's meant to go in a certain way. So a good communication is person A says something, and then person B acknowledges it. They say, okay, thank you, like, got it, I got what you're saying. And then person B says whatever they want to say in return. And then person A goes, got it, thank you. So it literally breaks down communication. But a very big part of it is acknowledgement. So if you're talking to someone in Scientology, you're an auditor, and they're saying, this is all bullshit, I've spent $50,000 and blah, 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 right? Anyone in Scientology will use the communication formula. They will go, I totally understand. I get it. I completely get it. I understand. And reassure you that they understand what it is you're saying. And then they will come up with something to say in return. It's literally called the cycle, the formula.
I mean, so often in life, all people really want is to be like heard and seen and acknowledged and validated.
And that's what
really
makes
hard.
Scientology so powerful, right?
Right. It's hard to find that in the rest.
Scientology.
It's hard to find that in the rest of the world. You don't just walk down the street and people are like, hey.
Yeah, in Scientology, that's what makes it so enticing at every level, is it validates you. That's the word they use in Scientology, validation, right? It makes you feel listened, it makes you feel important, it makes you feel special, because you walk into the church and you're doing this stuff, and the idea is that people are listening to you and they're saying, I get it, you're important, and this work that you're doing on the bridge, is powerful stuff, right? This is the first time or only thing that you're doing in your life that's actually about you, right? Everything else you're doing in life is for other reasons. You know, you're going to work, well, that's to earn money. You've got a family and you're raising your family. You're worried about your kids and your husband or wife or whatever. Like, this is all about you. This is your spiritual freedom, right? And so this is a really key thing in indoctrinating people, because they make you feel like, wow, yeah, you're right, this is all about me, and I don't think about me anywhere else in my life. Like, this makes me feel important and empowered.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like they just take these very basic human needs that people don't realize is what they need, and it's a pretty simple formula, honestly. I get why it works, because people do just want to be validated and feel heard. It's just that's such a common human experience, and I think why so many people end up in these coercive groups. Even MLMs, you're selling fucking Mary Kay. Oh, well, guess what? You're going to throw a Mary Kay party on Facebook, and 30 chicks are going to come and be like, oh my God, your leggings are so cool. And you're like, thanks. And it's like people just want like and hello, I'm a podcaster. Me too. Please go rate, subscribe, and review. Only if you're going to say nice things and leave 5 stars, though. If you're going to leave 1 star, go fuck off. Even people join MLMs just to, you know, they're a lonely housewife in the Midwest, and they go to a party, and a Tupperware party, you know, and the other housewives are like, oh my God, I know. Bruce is always down at the pub too, and I feel lonely with the kids too. Let's all sell fucking leggings. That'll give our lives meaning. I mean, it's just like, it's so easy for me to understand why people end up in these groups and end up where they do. Like, I totally get it.
Yeah, and with this validation, like on the grades, on the bridge, each step on the bridge has an end phenomena, and that's a validation, right? Like if you look at the grades we talked about so far, grade 0, grade 1, grade 0 is the ability to communicate freely with anyone on any subject. Like that's something that you feel like, cool, I can communicate with people now. And grade 1, ability to recognize the source of problems and make them vanish. Like these are things that you feel that you've done, so it's validating you.
Right.
Grade 2, relief from the hostilities and sufferings of life. Like you feel at the end of the process, wow, I feel like I'm relieved from this now. Like I feel like I'm in a good place, right?
You're like,
And
I
that's the
fucking
validation.
I fucking nailed that grade.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like, great. Well, now you've done that, you can do grade 3, which is personal upsets, which we just talked about. The end phenomena of grade 3 is freedom from the upsets of the past and the ability to face the future.
Even when you were fucking Marie Antoinette and you got your head chopped off for being a greedy, essentially, you know, you can now face even that situation and not be upset.
You literally look back on it and you go, cool. So now I can look back at that instance in my past life and I'm not upset by it anymore. I can confront it. I'm free of all of the upsets from my past. And because of that, that means I am able now to face the future, right?
And
I'm ready to look forward.
Right.
Which, can I just say, is very, very similar to the ARC straightwire, which is one of the first steps on the bridge, which we talked about, because the end phenomena of the ARC straightwire is ability to recall the past and have a fresh look at the present and the future. Well, it's very similar to grade 3, which is freedom from the upsets of the past and ability to face the future. It's slightly different, but it's basically the same shit.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I took like a light nap in my brain during 0 through 3 because I was like, I feel like you're saying the same thing to me.
Yeah.
Over and over in different words, but the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
Because that's what it is. It's
I
more
didn't
of the
really
same.
take a nap, but it is just like, it's the same. And then they change one fucking word.
Yes. Exactly. So that's what the grades are like. They're all the same format, but on different areas. And grade 4, which is the next step, is
the last one before
the last grade.
New
Yes.
Era Dianetics.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that one when we get back from this short commercial break. Hi, we're back.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
To Ash and Alex do
Scientology.
Yay. So we're talking about the grades, right? We're at the very top of the grades here on the chart to the Bridge to Total Freedom. Grade 4 is all about service facsimiles, or surfax for short.
Totes.
So everyone understands that, so we can just breeze over it. And let's go to the next one.
I was like,
who doesn't know what a surfac is?
I know, right? Fucking
If you don't know what a surfac is, what are you even doing here?
people like who don't even know that they're thetans are like, they can't sit with us, you know?
So
Idiots.
a surfac, a service facsimile, is basically when you make yourself feel right for something. So, for example, okay, here's a good one. If I try and break this down in a way that would make sense, like say you, like you're a kid at school and you don't want to go into school, so you pretend to be sick, right, to get the day off school. Aaron Hubbard uses this example. He says, well, actually, sometimes, right, pretending to be sick, the kid might actually make themselves sick because they're like, you know, been pretending that they've got a headache and whatever, and that might actually re-stimulate an actual
Manifest
headache
it.
and
Yeah.
manifest it. Yeah. So this is a surfac, right? This is when basically you are making yourself feel right for asking for sympathy from others, right? You are like recalling, re-stimulating things and doing something that's not necessarily the right thing to do for yourself. Like, why would you want to make yourself sick, right? It's not a pro survival thing to do, but you're making yourself feel right for doing that. That's what a service facsimile is, and that's what you learn about on grade 4. And you basically talk through past times when you've done things like this, and the idea is that you eradicate your desire to do these things, right? You eradicate the desire to want to get sympathy off others, and making yourself right,
You
and making
eradicate the
other people
desire.
wrong. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And the end phenomena is moving out of the fixed conditions into ability to do new things. So the idea behind that is like, you're now no longer trying to get other people's sympathy and trying to make yourself right. Actually, you're not stuck in the past now. You're now able to start doing new things in a new unit of time, and you're not worried about past experiences. That's the idea of the end of grade 4.
Okay. That was exhausting, the grades. I mean, they were like way more exhausting than the rundowns.
Oh, you just wait. There's only one more step before you get to the state of clear, which I think actually will bring this episode to a nice little conclusion.
Oh, perfecto.
Once you've done grade 4, you then go on to what's called NED, New Era Dianetics, right? And this is essentially...
Honestly, it sounds like a workout, doesn't it? Kind of.
It's a workout for your
Let's
brain.
get Dianetical. Let's get into Dianetics. You know?
So Dianetics is the first book in Scientology. It's called Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health, or as some people like to refer to it as Dianetics, the Mental Science of Modern Health. That's John Atack. He's another former Scientologist, refers to it as the Mental Science of Modern Health.
And really quick, you guys, Dianetics is not the Bible of Scientology, which is what I thought it was. You know, a lot of churches and groups, they have their own kind of, you know, book often that they refer to. So I was like, what's up, Alex? Do you want to like do Scientology like I'm doing the Bible on my patreon.com/TSFU. It's super cool. It's called Fucked Up Sunday School, and we are looking at the greatest fucked up hits of the Bible, and there are a plenty. So join us for that if you're into this. But yeah, just throwing it out there in case anybody was under that misconception. That's not true. It's just the first book.
Dianetics is not... So in Scientology, there is an element of faith of like, this is the Bible, this is what you believe in. Like, Dianetics is just the first book that started this whole process of evolving Scientology. And Dianetics is like, it's the first big book. It was written in the early 1950s. It was published and started the whole journey of what is Scientology. So New Era Dianetics on the bridge is this level of servicing that uses techniques from Dianetics, and it's basically recalling and recounting past instances in your life of like real trauma, like emotional loss, pain, unconsciousness. So everything you've done already on the grades, where we're looking at past earlier times things have happened, neurodynetics is like that, but even more intense. It's like real trauma stuff, like real times in your life and in past lives that have really like messed you up. And the end result of neurodynetics is what is called the state of clear, which is the goal of Scientology. So everything you've been leading up to at this point, right, you get to the state of clear. Like, this is a major milestone for any Scientologist, because this is like the goal. This is what you've been trying to achieve. The minimum it's going to cost you to get to this point is like $150,000. It's more likely $250,000, because everyone needs to redo things that haven't been done properly, and there's hours of sessions and things like this and setbacks. It's going to cost you no less than $150,000 to get to this point of clear. Now, what I'm going to if you are a current Scientologist that is for some reason listening to this, I'm going to tell you something that you won't want to hear. This is something that's confidential. So stop listening now, because basically this will fuck up your whole case. But the state of clear, you've reached the state of clear when you have what's called the clear cognition. So this is what determines whether you are this state of clear, which is this big thing you've been working up towards in Scientology. It's when you tell your auditor, when you realize that all of this stuff, the reactive mind, psychosomatic illnesses, all this trauma, and the reason it's affecting you, making you upset and all of this, you realize that whole reactive mind thing, you were just making it up.
So we just went over like, $100,000 at least of stuff. And guess what? It was all in your brain. It's all just been a giant acid trip, motherfucker. What are you going to do now?
You have been mocking up, is what the terminology is, your reactive mind. You have created your reactive mind, because you're a spiritual being with more power and control and all of this than you can ever imagine. So because you're a spiritual being, you have the power to do these things. So this reactive mind, this thing that's holding you back in life, actually that's something that you've made up yourself. And now that you know that you've made it up, you therefore can stop making it up. So therefore you're clear, because you are now no longer mocking up your reactive mind.
See, this like makes a little sense and then no sense at all. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so everything we just went through is
complete and utter bullshit, and you've made it all up. It's all in your head.
Imaginary.
And not only that, you're $150,000-$200,000 down as well. So thank you for that. And yeah, that's the state of clear. And now
so you get to the like best state and then they shame you? Like, no, you get to the state where you're supposed to be like, I'm the shit. And they're like, yeah, but guess what? You're not.
So this is the key thing. They don't tell you this. You have to say this yourself. You have to come up with this cognition. You make this realization. No one tells you. This is why I said, if you're a Scientologist, stop listening now. Because if someone tells you this, right, then it invalidates the whole thing, and it doesn't work. You have to come up with this realization yourself. And you are not clear until you say those words, until you have realized that you're just making this all up.
So the whole time you are looking for them, they're looking for you to say a certain set of like magical keywords that you don't fucking know. And you like, so you just like one day have to be like, oh my God, Becky, look at that butt. It is so big. Also, I think that I was making everything up with my reactive mind. Like, I don't know if I'm tripping, but I think that I made all that up and it's all my fault. And then they're like, bingo, you fucking loser. You're crazy, but now you're clear. Like, exactly. In a nutshell.
And exactly. And this is like a monumental thing. Like, this is this is what you've been working towards all this time and all of this money spent. Like, this is really emotional. Like, you are euphoric because you're like, oh my God, I'm clear. Like, I'm free of all of this trauma and all this pain and all of this like nonsense that the reactive mind has created and made me feel horrible, and you know what's holding me back in life, all of that is now gone because I was just making it up. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to make it up, so therefore I'm not going to be held back in life. Like, you feel euphoric, right?
Hold on. What if you go like after that auditing session, you're like, oh my God, I made it all up. And then you like get let's say stolen, like somebody holds you at gunpoint and steals your shit. Did that just only happen in your mind, or like what's the deal with that?
No, so this is because you pulled it in. We talked about this in an earlier episode,
Right,
right? Of
yeah.
you being a spiritual being. So you have pulled it in. So you've allowed that to happen.
Even though I'm clear? Like,
yeah.
How would
and the reason for that
Oh
is
my God.
because you are connected to a suppressive person, right? You're PTS, you're a potential trouble source.
Which
right?
Alex is, you guys.
That's me.
He's
Well,
official.
actually, I'm probably officially an SP now, but I'm officially on paper, I'm PTS. So yeah, if you're connected to a suppressed person, they are having an impact on you. So because of that, that's why you were sick, or that's why you allowed that to happen. And so if that was to happen, you would go into session and your orders would be like, okay, are you ready to like stop allowing that shit to happen in your life now? Like, stop putting yourself in that situation? And you'd be like, yeah, okay, sorry, okay. And then you do that. So the key thing here, once you've achieved this state of clear and you're euphoric, you think, great, that's it, I'm done now. I can go on with my life and I don't need to do Scientology anymore because I've done it all. They go, no. Because now you're free of your reactive mind, right? Now we can start actually addressing you as a spiritual being.
No, but
as
you
a
would
thetan.
know that because you said that the fucking the chart is on everywhere. So wouldn't you know that there's levels above?
So you'll know because you can see it, because you can see the state of clear and you can see there are levels above it. But you're not doing it just for the sake of doing it, right? You've achieved the state of clear and you're like, cool, what's next, right? Well, what's next is getting you ready to do your operating thetan levels, which is like addressing you as a spiritual being rather than just addressing your life and your reactive mind. So you've got rid of your reactive mind and you think, okay, great, I'm going to go and do my OT levels now. Well, no, because you have to be invited to do your OT levels. You can't just do your OT levels. Someone has to write an invitation to invite you to do these levels, and there's certain preparations you have to do before you get the invitation. And this is where, from this point onwards, everything in Scientology is confidential, right? All of the stuff you've done up to the state of clear, it's very clear on the bridge what it does and how it works and all of this, and you can go in and learn how to do all of this, and there's nothing confidential. But from that clear cognition we talked about, this point is all confidential, and you'll notice the information available in Scientology about what this does and what this is very limited. You don't have access to any of this information from this point onwards. They are all available online, like all the OT levels and stuff have been leaked, but in Scientology they're confidential.
It's like always, it's like that dangling carrot. It's just like, oh no, it's just like right over this next hill is when shit gets like so cool. Let me guess though, unless you are a PTS, potential trouble source, I'm guessing you generally get invited to the OT level because they want your money.
It's not as simple as that. Like, so in order to get the invite, you have to do your OT preparations, right? So your OT preps it includes what's called a security check. A security check is asking you hundreds of really personal questions, like, when was the last time you masturbated? What did you think about?
How did I
Did you
know that's
come?
exactly?
Did you come? What did you think about? How many times did you do that? Did you watch porn? What type of porn did you watch? How long for? Okay, when was the time you did that before then? When was the time before that? And you have to you go through everything, not just sexual, but everything that could potentially be a transgression or something wrong against the church. Do you have bad intentions against David Miscavige, the leader of the church? Have you ever done anything homosexual? Because in Scientology, the belief is homosexuality is a sexual perversion. You're not
Oh.
allowed to be gay in Scientology.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, when was the last time you had homosexual thoughts? What did you think about? Who did you think about? How long did you think about it for? Right? This is a security check, right? And you have to do this before you join staff. And there's lots of instances in which you do this sec check is what it's called. But this is the first thing you do once you've done your clear, once you've achieved the state of clear. Then you do a security check and you do your OT preparation. So you have to pass that sec check. You have to get everything off your chest, and Scientology has all the dirt on you. And then you have to do your OT preparations, which is essentially a lot of people, when you achieve the state of clear, go and take a break for a couple of years because they have no money left because they've spent it all on going clear.
And I want to just point out too that it's not just celebrities and rich people doing this shit. It's poor ass people like me who are taking out fucking second mortgages on their homes and racking up credit card bills and whatever, they get regular people in on this and somehow still suck hundreds of thousands of dollars out of it. Won't they help you apply for credit cards and stuff if you're out of money?
Yeah. Well, this is where this stuff starts to happen, because everything so far has been, it's expensive, but it's not mega money, right? Because you pay for things like one intensive at a time, right? Which is $5,000. So it's much more realistic to get $5,000 or $6,000, together somehow, and then you do that in package of intensive, auditing over time, and you do it. It's drip fed. It's bit by bit over time, right?
Years.
Yeah, it's hundreds and hundreds of hours of auditing. So it's kind of been manageable at this point, but it's still expensive. And when you get to the OT levels, that's when the level itself will cost $20,000, right? And this is where it starts to get really expensive. And yeah, this is where you start to do crazy shit like remortgage your house and take out credit cards and loans and things to pay for your courses.
Which they're happy to help you with, right?
100%.
I'm so happy to help if you guys need some help.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is kind of a perfect place to end for today. And next week, maybe we'll finish the bridge.
Yeah, next week we'll do the OT levels, which are pretty fucked up. And then, we'll start getting into some of the more crazy stuff, the lingo, what exactly happens when you join staff, the C organization.
Oh, all kinds of
shit.
stuff. I'm also really excited to get an ex-NXIVM member on an episode with us so we can talk about the crossover between NXIVM and Scientology, because like you said, holy fuck, he ripped it off so bad.
We should do that. I'm down for that. Why not? Let's get someone in. Let's get a former NXIVM member and go through the similarities, because they literally, I've seen videos and interviews of people before, they literally use the same terminology in some instances, like rundowns. They use that word.
Also, I'm guessing that this security check is filmed or recorded, correct? I would guess.
No, it's done on the e-meter and it's all written down, and then it's kept in your what's called PC.
It's
folder,
all written down though, so that's still they have some fucking dirt on you. NXIVM had their fuck, I don't know, but in the I don't know. I'm too immersed in Scientology right now to remember NXIVM terms.
Let's get someone in from NXIVM.
But it's when they collateral. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
so don't talk shit about us because we know that you're a homo who fucking masturbated to some homosexual pornography. Wow. That was
Homoerotic. Yeah.
right. And they're like, tell all your friends and family. And from what we heard from you, you're not super into everybody knowing that.
And also, you can see how clear this is in Scientology, because if you look up the hate websites they create about former
Ugh.
critics, I don't have one yet. I'm sure I will at some point. But
I'm
if you
kind
look up,
I'm kind of hoping that you get one.
I mean,
Like,
I'm
isn't
sure it'll
like
happen.
isn't all press good press?
It's it's if you look at some of the websites they've made about people, they literally have like there are some sites that like, yeah, he admitted to like having gay sex. And the way they presented it is like, yeah, how fucked up is this guy? And whenever I and any other normal person reads this, they go, right, and so what? So what if he's had gay sex? Because there's nothing wrong with being gay. The fact that you've presented it in such a way shows that you are anti-gay. Scientologists think homosexuality is a sexual perversion. Those are the actual words written by L. Ron Hubbard in the book. So like the fact that they present it and like, yeah, he's gay, or like she had sexual thoughts about a woman.
Why
So
would you
what?
listen to anything she has
Yeah.
to say?
Exactly.
It's like, okay, well, I'm super glad that your little group of Scientologists are getting that info. Guess what? No one else gives a fuck. I don't know. Wouldn't you look at that like as a badge of honor?
Some people do. I mean, personally, I don't give a shit about what they think about me. And to be honest, if they make a hate website about me, so what? Like, it's the reason they do it is to get under your skin and to make you react and make you feel a certain way. And so I don't particularly want anybody to create hate websites about me, but at the same time, if they do, it would only create further content because it would highly entertain me, and I will create hundreds of hours of videos about it because it will be hilarious. That doesn't mean I necessarily want it to happen. Same as them following
that.
me,
I
like
feel
private
that.
investigators, right?
Yeah, I don't want that.
Scientology hire PIs to follow you around and intimidate you.
No.
I don't want them to do that. But if they do, I will just make loads of content about it. Like, it will just be funny and it will just fuel it even more. Like,
Yeah.
they will fuel me making content
It's
about
like,
them. So,
oh, you want to piss me off and bother me, get under my skin?
you know,
Here I come.
I will find it funny. So as much as I don't want that to happen, I'm not inviting them to. If they do, all you can do is laugh, right? And
Which is why we're fucking here.
exactly. Everyone, thanks for listening. If you've been watching this on my YouTube channel, go and click the link below and support Ashley with the podcast, and go and listen and rate and like and all of that stuff on her channels.
And same with Alex. Link for Apostate Alex in the show notes. Also, just go to YouTube, type in Apostate Alex. There he is. He's got tons of content. We have tons of content. So if you just want more of Ash and or Alex, you got it, baby. So thanks so much for listening. Enjoy our outro song. We worked pretty hard on it. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
They're doing it and doing